Thank you very much. My name is Viktor Mitic. I'm an artist living in Toronto. I have studios in Toronto and Florida. And I've been doing this for a long time. So I can give you a little update on what I've been doing since, like, let's say, 1990s. That's the time when I actually moved to Canada. I lived in Serbia back then it was called Yugoslavia, until my age of 20, and then I moved to Canada. So these are the images of some of the works that I have made in the 90s. I don't know if you can see this.
Yep, we're good.
Yeah. Okay, good. So these are, I was classically trained in Europe, so I, love to paint oils and acrylics and loved Max Ernst by that period of time. So these are some of the images that I did, some of the weird portraits that I was specializing in back then, at the same time when I was going to school, UT. And after a couple of years, I managed to get some press on those portraits. So I met the premier of Manitoba at one point, and got some interviews over there in interesting times. And after a while, these are the installations that I've done in 1996. The only slide that I have of that particular installation. Some more paintings, and on the right is the graffiti that I was working on at that time, the three-dimensional graffiti that I was posting all over the city of Toronto. None of that is left. Then I met the Prime Minister of Canada, Jean Chrétien, at one point, also, and managed to sell a couple of paintings. And that's some more of that old stuff. So after that, I continued painting, but somebody gave me a camera. And somebody gave me a camera, so I started photographing everything. There's more paintings, Fidel Castro, some of the sculptural works, and then camera. So started photographing things, and also obviously they gave me a laser pointer. I can shine on objects and photograph. So there's some of the shots of that. Me with a camera, photographing anything I can. Landscapes, but then the landscapes were not my thing. And I went more for the urban landscapes, and I started photographing these images of ghost-like figures in various cities. This is the city of Tokyo. And just tell me if this is too quick or. Yeah. Okay, some more old art. Obviously, it was getting influenced by native paintings and Novo Moriso at that time. So that's it for the old. Yep, did some sculptures in stone, soapstone. And they're small pieces, maybe like about 2 feet in height. I did a number of those. And then the PDF number 2006. Okay. In 2006, it was interesting. It was the summer of 2006 when I was painting outside in the backyard. Went for lunch, and when I was having lunch, it started raining. When I came back, the paintings were ruined, I thought. So I threw them back in the shed. and came back the next day, and I saw this very interesting effects on canvas that they were left by that rain. So I tried replicating that effect by going up to the top of my roof and spraying canvas from above there to try to get the the same effect on canvas if possible, and didn't really work. So I started waiting for rain. So start painting paintings when it poured. Took about that took about 10 years for that process to be kind of finished. I realized at one point that something in the rain was modifying the paint and pigment and giving me these unbelievable, unusual effects that I was totally addicted to this stuff. Got some of the images of these rain paintings. The acid in the rain was, I guess, living in the city. There's a lot of that. Some of them ended up being 8 by 16 feet. There was a book that was published on the same title, Rain Dance. Okay. Some more of these.
I think it's really fascinating, Victor, that you've let this chance element come in to modify your work. There's a giving up of control in that. It's quite interesting. What did that feel like for you?
But it was very interesting. It was almost always running after it's fighting with the nature. I'm painting, the painting's getting erased by water. I'm painting it back. I'm trying to stop the action, and it just one moment you see, and think the painting is over, finished, and it washes away. So you start working on it again, trying to catch that feeling that you wanted to get. It was interesting. It was what I'm going to say. It's extremely hard to work. It's working under pressure. You got to do this quickly. You have to know when to stop. I can show you a video of some of the process. It was pretty fascinating. This is the back of my studio, the backyard. Behind that painting, I don't know if you see the pointer here, but behind that painting there's a laneway, and it was interesting. So these 16 footers were sticking up about 3 feet up there. And one day for Nuit Blanche, I opened the doors, and one of the neighbors came in and is like, "Oh, that's it." So he was totally shocked that these were 16-foot paintings, because he thought that little 3-footers were sitting on top of a rooftop of the of a shed, because the only thing that he would see was the top parts of the painting. So some more of these shots. Okay, I can maybe time to show that video. What do you think, Carol?
Sure.
Yeah. It will give you a little information about what I.
Victor's interested in unacceptable processes.
National with Robin Gill.
I'm Christina Stevens. The last place you'd expect to find art is at a shooting range, but we'll introduce you to a Canadian artist who uses a gun as his paintbrush. It's coming up on Global National.
Viktor Mitic is a well-established Canadian artist known for his distinct approach to painting. Prime Ministers past and present are collectors of his unique work, but not everyone agrees his portraits are crafted in good taste.
It'll be interesting to see how people receive Viktor's work, kind of what his legacy will be, because I think that, you know, the initial thing is to be shocked or outraged.
In a shooting range, this is exactly what you expect to see. But Viktor Mitic is blasting preconceptions by using a tool that's as far from art as can be.
Something that usually is used to destroy rather than create.
All of his targets are icons. Images people are bombarded with every day. For some, the connection to guns is obvious.
The title of this painting is Dallas, and I think I shot about 500 rounds of ammunition here.
Shooting at them is another one of these surprising things. You don't do that to a canvas, right? I mean, shooting is vandalism or violence or murder. You don't shoot at a canvas. I mean, what artists hate? They do a beautiful watercolor. They hate more than anything else the fact that it might get water splashed on it. Viktor courts water. He goes out and encourages them to be rained on.
Viktor likes to incorporate another force kind of in the creative process and use it as a catalyst to arrive at the final product. It doesn't seem like he, starts and finishes the painting on his own, and that becomes a pivotal moment is, when he is giving up his piece to that force, and he's doing that again in this body of work. When you talk to him about his process, Viktor, has pre-planned, he's made an underpainting, he's attempted to do sort of the traditional process of making a piece. But then, he incubates on that composition, he lets it sort of ruminate, and he waits for the perfect storm to approach it. He's intimated that finding the perfect kind of weather, the perfect kind of storm, that almost maximally damages the work is kind of what he seeks.
It's sort of perverse what Viktor does. He makes his art out of processes that are totally either forbidden or looked down upon by other artists, by most artists.
Let's see if the lighter works. That's it, kind of stops the action here. See? Yeah, this area here. I got a quick dry it a bit. It's gonna like.
One of the things that I think is important about this body of work is that it is as much about a performance, and I think that again is another common strain. Viktor really likes to set up his process, and he likes to kind of perform through it. So I picture, him waiting for the storm, and I kind of picture him getting his tarp on or his plastic outfit and going out and, reacting frantically. And one of the things I've always really admired about his work is the work's ability to tell that story without actually being there.
So that was it. So did these rain paintings, and at the end I had a couple shows. One was at the gallery Mo's, and I managed to score a Tokyo show. And these some shots from a show in Tokyo at the Muramatsu Gallery in Tokyo, in the Ginza area, which is a posh area of Tokyo. I had to, these were smaller pieces, 24 by 24s, and the largest was, I think, 24 by about 50 inches that I had to transport over there in one piece. I did that by cutting the stretcher at the back on a half, and then I glued it together. So, I had to make it fit my suitcase. Yeah, so that's a couple of shots from the gallery. It was an interesting experience, as I told Carolyn yesterday. Being at the show like that, I had to sign a contract, and the contract came with a set of instructions in very tiny letters in Japanese language, which were describing the type of hammer, nail, rope, and other tools that I need to set up my show. And the biggest thing is that I had 1 hour to do it, because the person previously, the person that had a show previous to me was finishing. I was there outside with a van full of paintings. They were finishing at 7 p.m., 7:01 p.m. I was in there, and I had until 8 p.m. to set the whole show. So there's none of the, stand back and, that painting is not good there, let's move it left and right. You got to know what you're doing over there. And, you're either in or you're out. And there was no opening. Well, what they did is they just opened the doors, and within a week, we had about 10,000 people and, going in and out, because it's a busy city. Another part of that contract was that the artists had to be present from the opening to the closing of the gallery each day to answer any questions that might be, asked on the artwork. And I spent the whole week right there. I know every single millimeter of that place. So that was, an interesting experience. But, I guess he trained me, I mean, now when I set up a show in an hour.
I can't imagine what would happen if we asked people, the artists, to sit there in the gallery for the entirety of their show. That would be quite something.
Yeah, but you know what? It's interesting, because then you get to see how customers are and react to your work. When they ask questions, you're right there to answer them. I realized something very interesting about Japanese buyers over there. I saw a bunch of paintings from that show, but it was interesting. They would go and inspect every single millimeter of the canvas, and they will find mistakes. Say, oh, this is a mistake, and it's like a tiny little dot of red that jumped. They didn't realize that my entire series painting was based on mistakes. It was all one big mistake, they was trying to stop. But that's different. I mean, one other thing that I did, I picked up some knowledge over there from a artist friend, Fusako Ekuni. She taught me how to use Japanese pigment, which is because she was a master of that technique. And I used that technique in my other series of work that I was, I'd never stopped working on the rain paintings and the bullet paintings and everything else. Just kind of had more pressure on myself. So I had a conversation with one of the writers, and I had an idea of having, how in galleries usually they have a stable of artists and they represent artists, so they show an artist. So I had an idea of actually showing the dealers. So I went around the city, photographed dealers from that list that the writer gave me, and it was just like candid shots. I just knock at the door. Hey, how you doing? Doing this art project? You want to, pose for 2 seconds? Some of them said yes. Some of them said no. I got 36 out of them, and started painting them. So let me show you that. Oh, okay. And this ended up being first. Okay. Well, I got a show was at the Oeno Wagner Gallery. These are some of the portraits. You can't really tell from a photograph or here on the screen, but the surfaces are reflective. They're gold foiled on masonite, and I painted this by hand using Japanese ink. Nicholas Materia, some of the art dealers here. I don't know if you recognize them. The Robert Birch on the left, and Olga Korper. This man here on the left from what's the name of the gallery? I don't know, don't remember. But I remember him for another deal. Just can't remember his name. The man on the right is Philip Gevick, Oda Wagner, Jamie Angel, Will Kusi, and my dealer at that time, or right after that, was Walter Mose. Patricia Librato. Okay. So let's see. So I did that at the same time as my rain paintings. And the other experiment that I was working on, you saw the beginning of all of that movie, was me shooting stuff up. So there goes the Art to War series, which is a huge body of work of paintings and sculpture that I've shot up. And it all come together in a way to the point that, you know, all of me doing sculptures the way I'm doing right now. It's all connected. So these are some renditions of old work. At that time, I mean, even now I'm talking to Charles Pachter. The art is also represented by Oeno Gallery, and he had a great impact on me in terms of dealing with the media and press, and I love his work. I love the way he uses those flat surfaces and hard edge in his paintings. Love the imagery. So I guess I picked up some of that, and but mine is done in a different way. Like I added these dots to make it almost like a connected dot effect, and they would at the same time soften the edges. So it's like this is the soft edge. Ended up having a book published with a bunch of work in it, and a DVD documentary called The Art of War by Laurie Quasi. What I found that by shooting at these paintings, I create this beautiful effect. If you can see this, if I can larger at all. Nope. Yeah. So you get this beautiful concentric circles that form around the penetration point. They're almost like flowers. At the beginning, I didn't really want to make it obvious that these are, you know, bullet holes. Didn't even tell anybody, so people would think that I used an airbrush to get the effect. And then somebody came a lot closer, and then, you know, the people started asking questions, and it leaked out. So yeah, all ended up being about bullets. Yeah.
Victor, you must be a very good shot.
I'm pretty good now. Yeah, I've shot about like 2 million rounds of ammo on art over the last, I don't know, since 2007 until now. I don't know why this doesn't enlarge. Okay, can you see all that?
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
Yeah. Okay, good. So on the left is you know, one of the Japanese paintings that I worked on, and on the right is me climbing a ladder. Yeah, oh yeah, that was another painting that I've done, which is an exact replica in size of Picasso's Guernica, another painting that I wanted to get, you know, shoot up because I thought it was pretty appropriate. That was the only thing that, in my opinion, was missing with that painting, the real bullet hole, real, you know, effect of a gun. They will make the viewer as close as possible to what the work can do. So I found you know, some baseball diamond where I can hang the canvas in the middle of the night. I projected my thing and took off. Worked on my knees for a long time until I finished that. This is the backyard again, and some schoolyard kids. Parking lot. Didn't really have a proper studio at the time, so I would work anywhere. You know, there was no problem with me working outside. So I would wait, let's say, for that parking lot to clear. There was a real estate development place on King West, and I knew that time. At 4 o'clock they shut down. Everybody leaves. 4:01, I'm there, and stretching my canvas, and I would, you know, sometimes staple it to their boards. They have the you know, billboards up there. I would staple it to see what I've done, because it's kind of hard to know what you're doing when you're on the floor, like right in front of the canvas that big. That's about 12 or 13 feet by 26. So that's the, you know, finished product. Just to give you the scale, I asked somebody to photograph it for me, and that's the same painting at the Art Toronto a few years back. I think that's Chihuly in front of it. Yeah, got a bunch of reviews. I got the, you know, front page of the Sun at one point. So yeah, some of these are iconic images, paintings that I've seen, famous paintings, and then some of them I did on my own. Most of them I did on my own. Then there's what is this? Mao Zedong. Got obsessed with Mao Zedong at one point. I shot the shirt with it, a piece of paper, even covered it in blood and bullets. This is an example of those concentric circles that we talked about. A couple more shots of that. That was at the Armory show. Got some review there. And yeah, okay.
But you say there in this article that you hate guns.
Yeah, I actually don't have one. So I don't need one. I think it's unnecessary to have anything like that in this point in time. This painting on the left, it's called Spectra Confederation. I try to de-weaponize the symbol of hatred, and by adding rainbows, colors, and shooting the flag up. So, I've been doing this for so many years. I'm shooting things up. So, okay, well, let me see, what am I doing? Like, I'm going to shoot like what I hate. I didn't like McDonald's. So I shot this kid. I mean, this guy I had to like shut up. What's his name? Ronald McDonald was a scary character for me when I was a kid. That's for sure. So shoot what you don't like. Then I ended up shooting what I like. So all my friends, they shot their portraits. They're freaked out. They have no friends anymore. Some other articles here. There you go. That's the blasted Guernica, I called it. And on the right is blasted Beaverbrook. That was commissioned by the museum in New Brunswick. It's there somewhere, probably in the vault. Dallas, I used the same gun that killed him to recreate his image. Same as the image of John Lennon. It's titled 38 Special. I used 38 Special to put him back to life. Yep. That's the last slide here. So that ended up, from then on, at the same time as you saw in that video, I started working on that shot up car. Shot up car was titled Kandahar, or Shooting the Animal. And I had the idea of having an object, that, I think the Volkswagen had a problem at that point with the media. And I took this old Volkswagen and transformed it into a Honda. Ended up looking at the Honda, to me, at least. So the idea was of getting rid of the car, because the car is a gas-consuming animal, and if you get rid of the car, you'll stop all the wars. This was at the Todd Morton Mills for Nuit Blanche. I was invited for Nuit Blanche, and I had the shot-up car and another installation ready for it. But as soon as I brought those cars onto the property, the police called the museum, and they made us cover it. It's the same car down the square.
Why did they make you cover it?
Because the cops was telling them, I guess somebody in the city hall found out, and they called the museum. They called the cops to tell them to shut it down, because obviously it was bringing bad press to the city. That's what the official answer was, to me at least. So they covered it, but they couldn't really take it out. So I had to uncover the installation for, I think, from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. only, and then move as soon as possible off the property. That happened to me again in DC. So this is another installation, another Nuit Blanche, a couple of years ago, when I had volunteer victims. I would ask people on the street, "Hey, you want to be a victim?" So they lie down. I'll do the outline of them, with fake blood and everything else. So it was just a fake crime scene with no victims, no. I mean, it's fake. It's all fake, but it's very powerful. I think it was interesting to see how many people would just lie down to be victims. Yeah, it's the same car in Florida right now, waiting for another activation. I think I'm going to be taking it to New York City next time. So, yeah. Okay, the incident. Okay, so that's the other installation covered up. And it was actually a working school bus that I bought, and that I, with the help of a crew that was into weapons, I transformed it into a piece of art that would speak against violence, against gun violence. So that's the interior of the, I don't know why this slide turned this way. Let's see if I can flip it. Yeah. So that's the interior of the school bus, scattered with the bullet shells. Okay, so yeah, that was out for as I said, a few hours, and had to be taken away almost immediately. So I had it stored for a week on a farm, and then after that I had another show, I think, at the Gallery Peach that was working with the Gallery Mose at the same time, and I moved that thing straight into Washington, D.C. DC. Okay. There you go. So that was an interesting trip. And another very unusual experience. I had to deal with a gallery in Washington, D.C. That they would display this piece for the duration of the show, which was a group show against violence and guns and this and that. And we shipped this thing down. He traveled all night. I flew in, and when I got there exactly at the same time when the bus was getting delivered. The board of directors freaked out immediately. Said, "Okay, we're not having this in front of the gallery." So they moved it to the back of the back lane, which was the behind the headquarters of I think it was the FBI or something, CIA or FBI.
Really?
Oh.
So then what happened?
So they were like really freaking out to the point that's like, "Hey, listen, so you got to take this away. We got to take this away at 5 p.m. tonight, right after the opening." It's like, what are you talking about? This it's not something I can put in my pocket and walk away with it. And plus, we had a contract, and at the end, I said, "Okay, forget it. Let's move this out of the way and take it for a spin." So we took it for a spin around town, stopping in front of various famous monuments and the White House. Yeah. Oh, this is upside down. I don't know why, but you can tell. People stopping. Some of them were, freaking out and say, "What happened?" Like, I think that was done right after that shooting they had accidentally, but this was created before the shooting, and yeah, it was very well received. I mean, we got international press out of that. what this is, the front page of Toronto Star, right here. The Washington Post covered us, and quite a few, local TV stations and the national TV stations. So that piece right now is at the Car Museum in Rochester, New York, among other like high-end cars and nice historic vehicles. So. Then you have Florida Studio. So this is another place that I have where I work. Got a little more space than downtown Toronto. So I work on these giant paintings and three-dimensional graffiti that you can see up there on the wall behind that painting. This is 12 by 25 feet, called D-Day, combination of photographs that I found on the internet that I spliced together into this composition that was shot up at the end. So this is the thing you see. I'm splicing the image. I think I stapled that to the side of the building when I was projecting it. And these 3D graffiti pieces. And then some paintings that I've done over there also that have no bullets in them. As well as little 3D maquettes for sculpture that I'll be making. Another giant painting, 12 by 24 feet, acrylic on canvas. Okay. Let's see where. Yeah, okay. So after, that big rendition of Guernica, the Blasted Guernica, was sold to a company called Rendition Corporation. It's up in Markham. And I had a client that wanted exactly the same thing. So I worked on another version of that same painting, but a little different. This is on the left. You see the painting almost done. I mean, I almost kind of copy what I did before. Was ready to be shot up, and then I went home to Toronto. And on the way there, I thought about like, well, no, this is not cool. I mean, two people should not have the same painting, or at least anything that is like quite similar. So I went back and I whitewashed the whole thing. I scattered the main elements of the Guernica all over the place, like an exploded version of me freaking out because I'm doing it again. So I exploded this Guernica all over the place, and I took it to a gun range and shot it up. And right now it's in Rochester, New York again. This is me working on the first version. Okay, and then we come to we have time. We have 15 minutes. Okay, so paint dripping. See, through my work, there's a lot of errors. I love these errors. I love the paint. I love the effect the gun makes on canvas, and it's all a lot. I'm trying to control something that I can't really control. And the floor of my studio, over time, I realized that I find these beautiful spots of paint that nobody cares about. You would just wash them over, or you paint over top of them, just to cover them up. I found it very, very interesting. So I would, like these spots here, little marks. And I had the idea of, photographing them, taking them into a computer, and enlarging them. So I would take them into the computer, clean them up, enlarge them, and then cut them out of, I'm not sure why it is upside down. Yeah, so I would cut them with a plasma torch or a laser cutting machine. And then, you know, some of them I would shoot up. Can't, you know, I mean, gotta shoot some stuff up still. And I will assemble them in space. So me being a painter, I was just thinking of, you know, how this thing is going to react in space. Like I was thinking more of a canvas. So I would just use strings or bungee cords or anything I can find and to have these things float up there. Never thought of the base. Who needs the base, you know? But that, yeah. So that's how you, okay, this is a mix of my studio getting built. And another set of, on the right, another set of these sketches, these paint marks that I printed on paper, and then I cut out and I hang them out there to see how they work together before I started like making, this was a sketch basically. So they're the same elements here, made of aluminum. And you know, that those, this is about like 15, 20 feet in length, right? I would go to steel suppliers, see if I can find offcuts, if I can find anything that is recycled materials, because I had to work with recycled and used. I thought it was pretty appropriate. Some more of these paint marks. And then some of the 3D renditions, because I have a 3D designer that working with me, that I get him to put these things in space for me and make them ready for laser cutting or assembly when it comes to, you know, making a three-dimensional sculpture. Some of the sketches of those same ones. I can find something that was skipped over. Yeah, this is on the left is the rendition of the Hypervelocity Asteroid sculpture that is about 40 feet in height. I made at the same time as I was making these other ones here. I can't just make one, I gotta fill up the studio. The studio wasn't even manned. You can see like there's doors, just plywood over there. They just kind of put this thing together and I filled it up. I think within 6 months, we couldn't walk there. We're just crawling under these aluminum and steel objects. It was strange, very strange. So now we'll come to sculptures. Okay, so each of these, I don't know if you can see this, is planned. Like I have PSD files, I have all these different files, technical files for each of the elements. So it's all color coded, you know, ready for cutting and assembly.
We recently shipped one of your pieces to Sri Lanka to go into a roof garden of a new building that was being built in Colombo. Do you have a picture of that?
Yeah, I do. Well, it's here somewhere.
We're just about to send another one of your sculptures out to a park in Vancouver, actually.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That will be awesome. And where is it? Am I going too quick with this?
No, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a 40-footer up in Rochester, New York again.
The scale that you work at is really quite something.
It's kind of cool. I feel like for me, it's the same. I've spent the same amount of time like working on big pieces and small ones, and you know, smaller pieces people look at into the microscope. this is another piece, getting delivered, almost like some drug deal, delivered to a customer from the United States. They came to Buffalo, to Niagara Falls, and I transferred my truck into their van. They off they went to Florida. This is going to be delivered to your gallery in a week or two. This piece here.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's the installation shot in Florida of one of the pieces. And on the left here is Purple Heart. That's the installation. That's at the top of the building, I think, in Sri Lanka, Colombo, Sri Lanka. Looks quite stunning here with water. I thought it was high polished floors, but it was actually water. I really like the reflection here. Yeah, here on the left is what I had to do for the installation at the Marriott Hotel in Markham. They ordered this piece, and I made it. They made me jump through hoops over there. Had to make everything out of recycled materials. Had to show and document that everything was recycled, that the paint was, per certain code, and including the varnish, like nothing toxic had to be used in creation of that particular piece. And so I had to show him a diagram on how, and also this was, if I can enlarge this, I had to show him the hanging mechanism. How is this structure going to be hung on the wall? So including the marks where the screw holes would be and everything else. So I made it look like IKEA. Yeah, this is also in the private collection in Rochester, New York. This one on the right would be the piece that is in Marriott Hotel. Smaller piece. I started looking at Frank Stella's work. I started looking at Jeff Koons when I started working with sculpture. Always liked their work. I loved Chamberlain. Damien Hirst, you name it. So whatever I see, I will pick up a detail. No, why not? So decided, okay, well, why not add precious metals? I really love the look of gold and love the contrast to gold and painted elements. So we'll use 24 karat gold. This piece here was actually made. It's titled. Let's see if I can flip it around. Nope, can't flip this out. All right. Yeah, this piece here was designed inside of a game called Minecraft. So I figured out the way to build an object inside of a video game and then export 3D file out of that game and then create this real life object from it using the same type of shapes. So this was done in as I said, Minecraft. So an article in some French magazine on the sculptures. This is another studio shot here, lifting a bronze sculpture up in this proper position. This gives you the scale. Some other pieces of the backyard. And then the 3D renderings, because I also said, did I say that? I have a 3D designer working with me on this. So Carl, I'm not sure, Carl, if you have seen this piece before.
I haven't seen that, no.
It's aluminum, stainless steel, and neon with gold leaf. And I think some of the elements inside of this area here are bullet holes right here.
Wow, that's extraordinary.
So.
Victor, I'm conscious of the time. We have just a few minutes together left, and I want to give people a chance to ask you some questions. And while they're thinking of what they might wish to ask, I just want to tell a little story. So the fellow from Sri Lanka, he came to Canada and went to school here, spent 30 years in a career here, and then decided he wanted to go back to his hometown in Colombo and give something back to that place. He built this building and then decided he was going to bring Canadian art to the roof of the garden in this building. So he came to us and he went around our sculpture garden and he picked 4 sculptures, all by first-generation Canadians, all by people who had themselves immigrated here. And then he moved those sculptures, we moved them to the top of this building in Sri Lanka, where he has brought Canadian art, all first generation. So the artist grew up in Turkey, in Yugoslavia, in the UK, and different parts of the world. And now that is Canadian art sitting in Sri Lanka. And the Canadian High Commission is doing a book on this, talking about the incredible contribution that first generation Canadians are making to the richness of the fabric of the country. And I just think it's a sort of a lovely story that I wanted to share. But please, if you stop sharing your screen, Victor, and we'll get everybody's cameras back on, and we'll see who has any questions for you.
Did I stop it?
You did. Looks like you did.
All right. Hey, Igor.
So you can turn your mics on if you like. And if you have a question, please feel free to ask it. Anyone? Or comments?
Everybody's speechless.
I'll probably have several questions tonight when it's too late. But anyhow, I would like to just say that this has been a real experience. It's wonderful. You are definitely a very, very creative person. I love to see how how your one idea progresses to something else, to something else, to something else, while it's still, you still have this core of this basic way of looking at things, and then your life experiences all come together, and it's amazing. I know somebody else who comes from what was Yugoslavia. He's probably still teaching somewhere, and he's Bosnian, I think. Sadko. He lived in Toronto for quite some time, and he had a lot of political and emotional commentary in his work from his experiences during the wars there. So I sort of see a little bit of that in your work. Anyhow, it's just amazing, and you've come so far, and lots of good luck in your future. Just keep it up.
Thank you.
Yet your work is so playful, or your sculptures. Your most recent work is very playful. I was just really struck by that, your colors, your shapes.
Yeah, well, it's a contrast, right? Like, and I like doing this. I'm not gonna set boundaries on myself and as to like focus on only one thing. Because,
Right.
There's it's all about beauty. It's all about the connection to the beauty and the whole universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to push myself totally to the other side of thinking, and I think it's working.
Yeah, sure. It's great.
Victor, how long does it usually take to finish one of your sculptures?
I work on a few at the same time, right? So some of them would take a year, some of them a lot longer. The pieces there at the Oeno gallery, some of them took quite a long time, close to a year each. Right?
Wow.
Because it takes time to assemble it, especially when it comes to polishing the steel to look like mirror, and then adding color, dipping in 24 karat gold, bringing it back, filling it up with concrete so you get some weight. And there's mistakes, you got to go back and redo it. So it's a process. I work like on a few pieces at the same time, so it's all I wish I had one of those machines that I can punch in and in and out, but I don't have working hours. For me, working hours are 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Do you work with any assistants?
Yeah, I have a couple of assistants that help me, and not now. Now I'm been working on my own, which is at the first week was like, wow, what am I doing? Can I actually do this? Can I weld again? Because I had 2 people welding for me. But yeah, get those skills back and quit complaining, keep on going. It's more fun now.
Elise, you had a question?
Yes, I actually really appreciate your observation of the studio blotches that inspire you to make the shapes. To me, that is very dear as well. I keep all my drop sheets rolled up once there because they're fun. But I really like what you've done with it. I think your standing trees sculptures that they shape magnificent languages in themselves. I think they're absolutely stunning. I really like the fact how you worked. You went into the 3D. You've really created something quite unique there, I find.
But it started, as I said, it started almost like a 3-dimensional painting in space. So I was hanging these objects and they were flat sheets. And it's like, well, I'm, working on them at the same time. I said, let me get one of these things and make him a little fatter. But they will still hang up there. So they're still up on strings, up with no base. So I didn't have a clue how I'm going to be, what am I going to do with these things? And then they kind of grew the base down. So on the reverse technology, going from up there down to the earth and connecting.
A stalactite.
Stalactite, exactly.
Yeah,
Like what is it? Not the mushroom, the other, the mold, like infecting it slowly.
Beautiful. Yeah. Now, Alexander Calder, did you meet that in your, suddenly did you see, there's something to it?
Oh yeah, I love his work too. His work is great. There's a lot more. Some of these flat pieces that I've done, didn't have the time to show you, but there's videos of these 2 pieces rotating, touch.
Nice. Yeah, I could see the reference. Yes. Thank you.
Victor, on behalf of all of us, let me just say thank you very, very much for what was a really marvelous presentation and walk through some very fascinating work. So bravo, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was my first, so it's awesome.